Hey, Tim Downs here from the Downs Legacy team at West USA Realty. Thank you for joining me for the July 2026 real estate market report. Let's get into the numbers here. So, started off, I'm changing up the way I'm doing the market report. I'm not just doing just exclusive one city. I'm going to start doing an entire West Valley market report. So, in this case, you can see here all the cities identified. Not a perfect breakdown, but try to cover as many of the cities as possible. See the included areas from Avondale down to Waddell. So all of the numbers that you're going to see here in the preceding screens are going to be related to these 11 areas. So let's start off in the closed sales. So all West Valley, present month 1,676 closed sales for the month of June. As you can see, this number is going down here. So we'll see, it just kind of at the beginning of the year quite low, that holiday low. Right around that 1,045. It started going up, jumped up in March, consistently coming down ever since, though. So from that March spike of 1,782, we've gone down to 1,676. So some say at this point, we start to see the summer lull, but maybe that's what's going on here. But definite sales numbers are coming down slightly. Now, let's keep this in mind here, though. 1,782. 1,676. So we're talking about, what is that? 100? They're a little over 100 as far as the variation is concerned from 1 month from March to June. Not a massive spike here. So just bear that in mind. Even though it's trending down, not a massive difference. Let's jump over to price. Current price, $449,052. That is, as you can see here, for the month of June. This is that number. It is a good jump from May, which was at 443,000. So about a 6,000 spike, as you can see, but way down from that March number, which was in 456. Now again, these aren't massive fluctuations here. From 456 to 449, we're talking about 7,000. So, and this is all of West Valley. So I'm not seeing anything here that's giving me too much of a concern. Fluctuation within a margin that doesn't seem to be spiking all that far. If you want to look at compared from last year, we see the dotted line here. As you can see, February, quite a difference as far as February last year for 454, this year 438. So that was quite a drop. However, we saw the inverse happen, but it seems like things are semi-stabilized as far as year to year. We were down, but then we went up. So quite a bit of a back and forth as it relates to this year versus last year, but nevertheless, still within a relative narrow margin. All right, let's jump over to inventory. Inventory as well, pretty steady, even compared to last year. We're not that far off. It has stayed very consistent throughout the year, throughout last year. We are not seeing too much of an active inventory fluctuation in any way, shape, or form. You can even see all the numbers from last year were pretty consistent across the board. This number stayed inside of the 5,000s, high 5,000s. We're still seeing this one a little bit over 6,000, but so it's, last year at this time, 6,083. Now 6,051. For the entirety of the West Valley, we're seeing roughly 30 in active inventory differences for the month of June. So if you want to look at the real estate market and go, how's it looking? Well, active inventory is pretty consistent. All right, let's jump over to new. These are new listings coming into the market. Current year is this turquoise color. So the current month, we're seeing 2012, which is down from last month of 2,226. Before that, a little bit higher at 2,286, which was also a little bit higher or a little bit lower from March. So we are seeing new listings coming down as we go along through the year. It's not a massive drop, but at the same time, from 2,500 down to almost 2,000, so about 500 less active or new listings coming into the market. So less people are deciding to put their house on the market. So we should see the market change as it relates to this with less choice happening. But just FYI, this is a number to watch. Last year we did see kind of the same sort of pattern Has it started coming down? I guess it must be that summer activity we watched last year as it kind of hit that June, July, almost same number. Then it started going up, started going up, started going up, and then we went into the holiday period. So we might just be seeing what happens every year. Less people want to put their houses on the market with the summer months. They're off doing something else. Don't want to deal with selling their house. All right, let's jump over to pendings. So pending home sales. Another thing here we're seeing is it's going down. So actually, it even took a pretty big drop as far as from May into June. May, we had 1,648. In June, 1,131. So quite a bit of a drop as it relates to how things were going in previous months. So a lot less houses went into that pending status. A lot less houses went into that place where people are going, okay, I'll take that house. And so we'll have to watch this number, what this looks like. Last year, we didn't see anything like this. So, we did see it come down, but it wasn't this much of a drop. So maybe we're seeing, maybe some of those pending sales took place in May, and perhaps there would have been somewhere like in the middle of these two. So a lot of them happened in May. Perhaps in other years would have been in June. So who knows what's going on here? But we definitely did see a drop. I'll be watching this next month to see what this looks like. Hopefully, we see a bit of a spike as it comes back up. Maybe this again, it may just be a matter of it happened in May instead of June, and what didn't happen in June may happen in July. So again, we'll look for that and see if there's any knowledge we can glean from this. But can't deny this one though. Seen a big drop from May into June. All right, so let's look at velocity. So current days on market, average days on market. So we see that right here. Okay, so cumulative days on market, 83 days, 83.8 days. You can see the lines here. So January, February, March, those numbers were coming down, dropped even further in April. So from 92 down to 82 days. So 10-day drop as far as average days on market for the West Valley from January to April. And then we saw it pop up a little bit. May went up to 83. From 82 to 83, not a huge jump, of course, one day, but still, it's going in that direction. And then, of course, next month, pretty close as far as, the amount of days. So, let's see, 83.5 to 83.8. Really no difference. It's just the graph gave a little extra room. So you can see it go up, but it's barely going up. But nevertheless, it did go up slightly, but I would call this pretty steady, I guess you could say. Last year, you can see how not quite the same story being told. We saw it go up, we saw it go down, we saw it go up, we saw it go down, and then we had a huge spike in August, or starting in June, going into August. So perhaps we'll see some sort of summer season, so buyers' behavior as they go off on vacation instead of buying their homes. Maybe we'll see this pop up. But as far as overall consistency, the last, at least 3 months, we've seen it go from 82 to barely almost 84. So about 2-day fluctuation for the last 3 months. Not too bad here. But let's also look at months of supply. That's the blue line here. At present, it's 4.1. That's that neutral real estate market at present. And hasn't changed a whole lot. Let's call it like it is. It's pretty consistent. We've seen 4s for the last 5 months. Beginning of the year, we were right under 4, which means a little bit less inventory, but it stayed pretty consistent. So not much to see there. Again, we can also look at last year to get us some sort of comparison. That number started really high. 5.1 came way down by September, whereas down into the almost a little less than 4. But again, not too much to see here as far as inconsistency is concerned. Consistency does seem to be prevailing. All right, let's look at pricing philosophy. So this number here, negotiated margin off the final price. So this is to be kind of confusing number, but essentially what we're seeing here is the final list price. When they put the house on the market in the MLS, whatever that list price was, when they ended up closing, how far off were they from that number? According to the data that we're seeing, it's about an average of about 1.3% less. So not terribly off, but again, that's something to consider when you're looking to buy a home. When you see a housing price at whatever that whatever they're listing it at, you can look at it based on the data that more often than not the houses are right around 1% less of what they're closing on. So just bear that in mind. That number's been pretty consistent for some time. Back in February, it was closer to 1.8%, but here we are at 1.3. So about 0.5% difference. So let's look at the total haircut of the original price. Now this number includes concessions as well. So you may not see that. You can say, I'll pay $500,000 for your house. Actually, no, I don't. I know you're asking for $500,000, but I only want to pay, I want to pay $5,000 less. So that's the previous number. This one is okay. Fine. I want to pay $5,000 less, but I also want 2% concessions from you. So that's what this percentage is saying. So it's saying here that from the list price, the sellers are actually taking about 4% of a cut in order to get that house sold. So if you are in the market to sell a house, this is something you need to think about. Whatever your list price is, whatever you're willing to take, or whatever the number that you really need to have in order to sell your house, this is something you need to really consider. If you're going to sell it, on average, you're going to take about a 4% hit off of that list price. So keep that in mind. All right, let's turn over to the churn number. So this is inventory turnover. This is how much of the active inventory is turning over on a month-to-month basis. You can see this number here started off in January, 45%, then took a big nosedive down to 34, popped up again in February at 41, and here we are down at 33%. So 33% of the active inventory turned over last month. 33% of it was there. 100% of the 100% of the inventory, 33% of it is now gone. Okay, let's look at the relisting mirage here. So this is the number that gives you a sense of so in case those of you who aren't aware of how this works, so you put a house on the market and it starts accumulating days, and people come look at your home, and in 30 days, somebody says, hey, how long has that house been on the market? And they go, oh, well, they look at the MLS, they go, oh, it's been on there for 30 days. Now, if it's been on there for like 90 days, let's just say, and the listing agent's going, hey, we need to make some changes to this house. We need to take it off the market for a little bit, do some painting, put some new carpet in, what have you. We'll take it off for a little bit, and then we'll put it back on. Now, there's two numbers. There's days on market. Since you took it off the market, put it back on the market, now the number's back to zero. Starts over again. But the cumulative days on market are still there. So that's one way that listing agents will kind of refresh a listing by doing that. But this graph here is showing you how often does that affect these numbers. So as you can see, the current number for June 2026, we've got 83 days here is the cumulative, and this is the average. So the average is about 80 days, which is actually a number we need to talk about first. Houses are staying on the market for about 80 days. So that means, for every house that sells in 10 days, there's a lot out there that are going for a much longer than 80 days. So just, keep that in mind. So depending on how well your house is situated and how likable it is, these numbers fluctuate, but all of them combined in the West Valley, you're going to be waiting on average of 80 days. However, the cumulative number of days is 83. So there's an extra 4 days when it comes to what is the real number as far as houses staying on the market. So 83.81 days. Okay, let's talk about pipeline efficiency. Now, this number is an interesting number because this shows you of all of the houses that are pending from the previous month, how many of them actually sold. So this gives you a sense of all the people who said, yeah, I'll buy that house, put it in pending status. But then at some point, they find something about the house they don't like. For whatever the reason is, they lose their funding, what have you, and then it basically drops. So, and this number shows of all of those houses that went under pending status, how many of them, or what percentage of them actually closed. Now, here's a problem with this number, though, that you got to bear in mind, is sometimes there are greater than 30-day escrows. So you'll see a house go pending in January, but they're not going to close until March. I would say particularly because February is shorter than 30 days. If you have a 30-day escrow that you started right at the end of January, or a 45-day escrow that started at the end of January, obviously it's not going to close in February. We see that bear out in the numbers because 87% of the houses that were pending in January did not close in February. However, we saw a huge spike in March, right up to 110%. So all of those right around 30-day or a little over 30-day escrows that may in another part of the year would have closed in February, they actually closed in March. So that's what we're looking at here. So we're seeing for the current month, 101, almost 102% of the houses that were pending the previous month in May actually closed in June. So it's actually a pretty good number there. It just tells you the success rate. Even the month before was 100%. The month before that in April, 95%. So obviously we're seeing a lot of those that did not close in the month of April. We're starting to see them here. But anyway, just give you a sense of what this looks like as far as pipeline efficiency in the West Valley. All right. Gross capital injection. This gives you a sense of all of the homes in the West Valley, the actual volume, the dollar amount of the volume of sales. Now, this is a huge number. There's a lot of fluctuation as far as where you could really look into this number, or you can just take a step back and go, the important part of this metric is what does it look like from last year, to give me a sense of, are houses worth more this year than they were last year? This is one indicator that can kind of give you an example of how that looks. So as you can see at the beginning of the year, things were pretty consistent. We saw the previous year a little bit higher than it was. And then in March, we saw a huge pump here of capital. March, it was 890,000, 890 million versus the year before, 790. So quite a jump. And it has stayed higher. So you can take what you want from that as far as what this means. I think there's a lot of underlying metrics that you can take from this, or facts, or you can glean quite a bit from this. But at least the message is consistent. The gross capital injection in the West Valley this year is definitely higher than it was last year at this time. 829 million versus 763 million. So take what you want from that, but that's what we're seeing. But anyway, look, this is a West Valley real estate market report. All of these metrics are a combination of all the metrics from all the cities in the West Valley. So if you're looking for something a little more specific, if you want to say, hey, I want to see how the city of Goodyear looks like, or I want to see what Peoria looks like, or anywhere else, Buckeye, if I can pull the data from MLS for that particular area, I can make a dashboard like this for you. It's just a matter of what MLS can provide me. So lots of options here. So if you really want to look a little bit more into the market, if you want to see some more data, if you want to just talk this out with me, please feel free to let me know. I'm here again. My name is Tim Downs. My wife is Stephanie Downs. We're a team at West USA Realty, and I really enjoy doing these kinds of dashboards and looking at the data here. So if you're interested and you want to learn more about the real estate market, again, if I can get the data out of MLS, I can create something like this for you. So reach out to me, let me know. I'd love to help you. And I'm looking forward to talking to you and looking forward to serving you in some way. So thank you again.